Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by PILMA. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Hey, Grow Your Law Firm listeners. This is Gracie House from PILMA, and I'm excited to pop on today and share with you a special invitation. If you're serious about growing your law firm this year, you need to be at PILMA Super Summit, happening May 20th through 23rd in San Antonio, Texas. For more than a decade, we have brought together the best minds in legal marketing, management, intake, and operations, and now AI for one purpose: helping law firm leaders grow and scale their law firms. Attendees leave our conference with a real plan, actionable tools, strategies, and resources, not a brain clouded with conflicting messages and ideas. This isn't a conference where you sit and listen to theory all day. You will hear from real attorneys who are sharing what's working and what's not working when it comes to marketing and managing their 8-figure law firms. You'll be in breakout sessions built specifically for your role: COOs, marketing directors, firm owners, managing partners, leadership teams, so the right people get the right strategies. You'll have the opportunity to workshop real challenges, ask questions of seasoned marketers and leadership experts, and walk away knowing exactly what to implement and who owns it when you get back. We're going deep on AI, and not in a conceptual way. In our AI breakout, you'll have your laptop open, building, testing, and creating alongside experts. At our recent AI for PI event, attendees literally built their own custom AI tools during one of our breakout sessions. That is the level of hands-on that we are about. You'll also get to connect with attorneys and law firm owners who are scaling fast, sharing what's working right now, and building relationships that last long after the conference ends. The networking is intentional, the content is actionable, and the agenda is packed. If you want clarity, momentum, and strategy you can actually execute, join us at Super Summit this May in San Antonio. Registration is open now. Check the link in the show notes and secure your spot today.
Hey, it's Jenna, Membership Growth Advisor with PILMA. If you're serious about growing your law firm this year, don't miss your chance to book a free law firm growth strategy session with me. We'll break down what's holding you back, identify the biggest opportunities in your firm, and map out the next steps to accelerate your growth. No pressure, just real strategy and direction tailored to you. Click the link in the show notes to schedule your free session.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm. This is Ken Hardison, and today we have the pleasure of having Phil Kesler. Welcome, Phil.
Hey, Ken, how you doing?
All right. So tell us a little bit about, Phil is a prominent lawyer up near Chicago. If you will, tell us about your law firm and just tell us about your journey. Why did you become a lawyer? What you do and where you do it?
Sure, Ken. We're in Rockford, Illinois. We're about an hour to the west of Chicago. I grew up downstate. My entire family, we're all named Phil. We're all attorneys. So my sister practices back in Champaign, but most of my family's from Indiana. So like a lot of multi-generation attorneys, I followed in the path, and I went to law school in the Chicagoland area and took my first job with this law firm in Rockford and stayed with it. And we've grown substantially since that time. And we've been on TV about 25 years here in the Rockford area. Since that time, of course, we've expanded some other areas advertising-wise. And
the name of your firm is, what's the name?
Our firm is MacCloskey Kesler and Associates. Kim started the firm in 1998, and I became a partner sometime shortly after law school, 2004, and took over operations and purchased Kim out about 8 years ago.
Okay, great. So, he was doing TV, I guess, right around even with right when you came on with it.
Yeah, he'd been doing TV since Friends, right, in late 90s. So lots changed since that time.
Yeah, and I know what I'm hearing, and maybe you can confirm it. TV works to some degree, but not near as good as it used to, like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, we had a big game here. Bears played the Packers in this part of the country, either a Bears fan or a Packers fan for the most part. And that was on Amazon. I would have loved to have that game, couldn't get it. But the following game, the Bears advanced, of course, and we had that game, and my phone blew up. So I think TV's still working. I'm on most of the NFL games, most of the Bears-Packers games, a lot of the Bears games, and people notice it. But the daytime rotators, I mean, let's be honest, most people are on Hulu or YouTube TV or what have you, but it's so fragmented, it's just not the same as it was. You could put your commercial on Friends on, I think it was Thursday nights back in those days, and that's all you had to pretty much do, right? And I don't think that's the case with TV anymore. I think there's value, but it's not the same value.
So you've been, a member of PILMA for many years, off and on. And I was talking to you at one of our meetings. I don't remember exactly where, it was on the phone, and you were telling me that even though you do all this TV and digital, that you had really discovered going back to the roots.
Yeah, I started with you back in 2018, somewhere in there. I think St. Louis was the first Super Summit I attended. Been with PILMA on and off throughout that. And we have an interesting situation because we've got a brand that's been in town for a long time. Kim was burned in a house fire and has a very touching story of natural gas explosion, and he went through litigation to recover from that. So it's well known and been on TV a long time. And so I was sitting in a mastermind, I think in Charleston, and I was going through our advertising budget and plan. And one of the areas I talked about is that, once you start doing some of I'd call it grassroots, but the local, baseball teams or the local Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, you start sponsoring stuff, everyone kind of hits you up. And that's great. But then you're like, at what point is that too much of your budget? And I said, does it really work? And one of the other attorneys in the room has been with PILMA a long time, said, I think you know the answer. And the answer lies in the fact that the largest case I ever handled was a pretty significant, deep 8 figures case, and it came from a neighbor, came from complete word of mouth, just who I am. And it was one of those where I got a call on my cell phone and, can you look into this? And they had someone else look at it and didn't have any idea on the other side that there was a corporate entity with significant injuries. So I deep dived after that meeting. I tried to figure out how much of this TV that we're spending, we're 6 figures in TV, we're doing billboards, we're doing, of course, SEO work, pay-per-click, all the, LSAs, all the normal stuff everyone does, right? And started looking into it. And what I found was over half our cases were coming from what I consider grassroots. And that means, word of mouth, prior clients, a referral source, another attorney. And then as I deep dove even further, I found out our big cases are all coming from those areas, our best cases. And that pretty much clued me in on what do we got to do to expand our grassroots operations? What do we got to do to make it better? And so, the areas I focus, Ken, and I know one of them is one I stole from you, but it's prior clients. We've always sent out some type of Christmas calendar or, it's hit them up in some way that way. The typical email, it used to be a mailer, but now email with, some type of recognition of what's going on in the firm, a newsletter style. But the biggest one that we had success with was the dinner that I think is your idea. And we did it very traditionally. And we did it, at Golden Corral with no alcohol, which I like that part. And everyone gets to choose their food. And I know that's literally coming out of your playbook. I stole it out of St. Louis and tried it, and clients love it. And I didn't share this with you, but this week we just started trying some radio. It's new for us. We'll see how that goes. But this week, the radio station wanted to get some clips from clients, and one of them was a prior client. And she then turned around, went on Facebook, and shared, and it got like over 100 likes of how much she loves on us and this experience of the radio station, because she got to feel like a star.
Yeah, that program works in big firms. It works in big markets, little markets. It's I did the Golden Corral too. Everybody thought I would be. It was. I didn't want alcohol. I wanted a free room. Yeah, and some people want salads, some people want steak, some people want fried chicken. I mean, you don't know what I'm saying. That way, most of the Golden Corrals have got buffets now, I think. Get back when I was.
Yeah, it still works, right?
Yeah, well, and the reason it works is, and I wrote a book about this. Well, it was in my book. It was the main source of it. Like everybody, all the lawyers, everybody markets for reference, TV, radio, billboard, and then maybe 50 or 60% do a really, maybe 70% do a really good job of trying to want to represent them and contact with them and, give them a great experience like Starbucks in a different way of thinking. But then the third thing is after representation. That's where only maybe 20% of the lawyers really care. That's what I found. You got to stay in front of them. I had somebody on a podcast just recently, and he said, just like you're thinking, he said, I was interviewing this new client, and I said, have you Have you ever been in a car wreck? He said, yeah. He said, well, who recommended you? I said, I don't remember. And he
Right.
said, and lawyers' egos make them think everybody's going to remember them, and they don't. Staying in front of them with what you're doing, the newsletters, the emails, the cards, birthday cards, doing this dinner for them, several times a year. It keeps you top of mind awareness. And so when somebody they know gets hurt, friend or family, they're going to think about it because you're staying in front of them. It's so simple, isn't it?
It
But
is. It really is. And I mean, it's harder to execute though, right? Than reality. The other thing is we're moving into, the AI world or social media, however you want to look at it. I'm not a big social media person. And you might know that about me, but one thing I'm pretty proactive. My wife does a really good job, but neither one of us are on social media much, but she goes through every day and likes people's posts, and I do the same thing. And that's good because it's fun. You get to see, we're our age where we're at, mid 40s. There's a lot of our kids are college age now, but it's, prom photos, whatever. I think that's an important aspect that people overlook is how important it is to throw that like or that comment on someone's post to give them affirmation for what's going on in their lives. And I think that's part of it. I tried for the longest time to avoid clients on Facebook, and that just kind of happened. And as I said, I mean, I think that actually, again, I think trying to separate your professional life from your personal life, it's really hard to do as a personal injury lawyer. And the best clients are going to be people who consider you friends, people who know you care about them. And then,
yeah,
yeah, their family member gets hurt, and they got you on the phone from the accident scene.
I mean, I used to say people are going to hire lawyers that refer to lawyers that know, like, and trust. And then I was at one of our masterminds, and this was working with me on that. And that goes right back into what I was saying. So they know you, they like you, they trust you, and they remember you. And it's your job, to get all this happen. They got to know you, and you got to get your face out there, and they got to like you, and you got to be approachable, and they got to trust you. And that's the work that you do. But they still got to remember who the hell you are. Don't. They're not going to refer because. And some people, this is the 35, 40 years ago. I remember this one guy said, he said, well, I had sent you. I said, you didn't send me in cases. He said, well, he was in a position. I can't remember. I think he was an ambulance guy. He said, I just felt like you're so busy, Ken, that you didn't need him. I said, man, I always need another good case. I never had enough. I didn't need one more good case. See, that's the other thing. People don't know. You got to let them know too, right?
Right.
There's a lot to it. And like you said, execution is a big deal. I mean, I used to say back when I was practicing in the 90s and the early 2000s, TV and billboard radio made lawyers lazy, and that they could just throw money at it, more money, and get more cases. Not true today. You've got to work. You've got to do more than just be radio. You want to get the good cases. That's how you get the good cases. You build relationships.
Yeah. And you got to execute, right? I mean, you got to razzle or dazzle these clients, and you got to make sure they're happy and have a good experience, because you can do all the marketing in the world, but if you're not running a good operation, they're having a bad experience, they're not going to refer you to their friends, right? Yeah, I mean,
That's why those Google reviews are so important.
yeah,
You need them. You need them. And that's all the digital. I think the Google reviews being on maps is number one. I think LSAs are number two, and I think organics number three. And giving a good experience before you get good reviews, so you can get it bad.
yeah, and it's a heck of a lot easier to get a bad review than a good review, right? You know that. I mean,
Yeah,
super
yeah,
easy to get a bad
yeah,
review, and it's
yeah.
hard in this business not to get a couple just because people's expectations. But and so the other thing that I was going to tell you I want to talk to you about is that we've seen pretty good financial growth as well as the size of the firm, and just managing that, trying to make sure we get that good client experience, but also engaging the rest of your staff to know. Because I mean, it's one thing for the attorney to know, hey, we want cases. It's another one to get the staff to buy into that. That hey, if you got someone get them here. Because we have a saying about some other firms: friends don't let friends go to that firm. And hopefully, the culture of your firm grows in a spot where people want to actually come to your firm, and then your staff believes in the fact that they want their friends and family as to be members of your firm. And I think if you can't say that, it's a real hard sell to the public in general.
What else have you done on grassroots?
We've been doing, I stole some ideas from some of the other Pillman's guys. We did do we're in northern Illinois, so it's pretty hard to do a teacher cruise, right? So we did a giveaway. It was more or less a spa day, a spa weekend. So it was, 2 nights and a spa at a Lake Geneva resort. And I did a billboard slash social media campaign for that. And the campaign itself, I didn't get as much feedback as I was hoping, but the actual winner, that went crazy. I mean, I can't believe how much feedback we got on social media on that. Again, we're a small firm and a small market, but the teacher who got it, she was very appreciative. The school district and all the teachers in that district were very appreciative. It's a bigger district in the area, and so the post of her winning went wildfire on throughout all these teachers, and I think that was a great win. I'm currently running a campaign, no secret billboard on this. We're giving a fishing trip now to a first responder, so I fish a lot. It's something a big part of who I am, and so I've hired a guide who I know I think a lot of, and we're going to send firemen and another person to a day of fishing and hopefully catch a lot of fish here in the spring. So I think stuff like that, again, I think the engagement, people, you give a darn, you care. I think that's important. And it's another way to put our name out there. There's so many attorneys on billboards in all these communities now that you got to do something to show people you're not just trying to make money. You're just not trying to get their case. You actually want to help them.
Humanize you, Phil. I think, you're not just makes you like a real person, and it makes you, they know you got a heart. That like you said it here. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, referral firms still are part of our business, and we lean on them pretty good. But one thing that I started doing probably in the last 5, 6 years is we started giving away gifts at Christmas time, not just to the attorney, but to the staff. And I mean, I can speak to one firm in particular as a criminal firm. We were getting a few cases. Now it's like every other day we've got a case. And this is getting that staff to buy. And, it's like a mug with, hot cocoa. It's nothing, everybody, we're doing, 1,000 of these. But, this year we did a blanket for every person with and it's embroidered with the firm logo. And it's a pretty nice blanket, and gave them to all these staff members. I think we lose sight as attorneys sometimes that yes, the owner of the firm is very important to get that relationship, but the people who are directing you, these clients are as we all know, the paralegals and the receptionist, and again, getting them to buy in that you care, that what you're talking about, that you give a darn, that they like you, they're going to want to send you cases. And if they leave the firm and go to a different firm, they're still going to want to send you cases, and I think to me, that's something that's huge value, and it's been very successful for us for the investment.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I mean, I've never done that. What I was big on was wanted to build. I wanted to build a relationship with people there, front office people. A lot of them don't like lawyers, da da da. But like taking donuts, Chick-fil-A stuff. And love the gifts. What you're talking about. That's a great idea.
Well, I mean, think about it. You're a paralegal in a family law or a criminal law, especially family law, and how many attorneys treat you like garbage all day long? And that's, again, it's got to be genuine. You got to be this person. You can't, but my grandfather practiced for 50 years. He taught me very early to bark, yell up. Don't ever yell down. If you think you're so good, you're yelling at a receptionist, you're not a very good person. And so I've taken that kind of attitude to heart. But at the end of the day, the core of these law firms are these staff members. And so having an attorney show some value, build that relationship, show they care, and then the hardest part is I get most of those referrals come to me, like they want to directly email me, which is great. But, we have to get it onto our intake team, of course. But that, again, shows that type of relationship you built that, they know that when they got a problem, they got a client who's got a whatever's going on, traffic ticket, and now they've got a loved one in a car accident that they want to get you on the phone with them, and I think that's a relationship, takes a little time, but it's super valuable if you can build it. And yeah, I've avoided the doctors, not that we don't have those relationships, but again, I tend to find that I think the better people are going to look for an expert when they're in the situation, especially, and this is where I tie it back to AI and the current state. I think the one area that I think we might lose sight as attorneys is that with all the AI, anyone can get on the internet and try to figure out a problem, but they still want a real expert to solve that problem because AI sometimes creates as many questions as it does answers. I mean, I've
Yeah.
got 20-year-old kids, and I mean,
Yeah.
they tell me, hey, I can't use it in school. I'm like, you guys don't use it. Oh, we can't because it's not reliable. It's not always right. And I think the more people are around, the more people understand that. And so they look for an expert. And that expert could become in many, many forms. That's, if those experts are referring you the case, then that's how the quality cases will come in my opinion, going forward. But,
And I think we just had a recent AI for PI in Florida, Orlando, and something I heard one of the speakers talk about. Everybody's wanting to get SEO for AI. He says, listen, I agree with you. Only less than half of 1% of searches are done AI, Google, Bing, and I'm not saying you don't need to do it, but the deal is that's not going to move the needle next is in 2026. I mean, you need to prepare for it, but the deal is I'd rather take that money and go put it buying gifts for paralegals and or domestic family firms. I mean, that's what you got to think about when you're marketing. People just throw stuff. You got to be strategic about it and think about what am I trying to accomplish. And that, what you're doing tells me that you're thinking strategically. And instead of throwing money at it, you're thinking, okay, where the good cases come from. And let's do past clients. Let's go to lawyers who don't compete with me, and not let's go to the lawyers. Let's go to the state. I think it's genius. I know you've grown. How much have you grown since you started doing that?
I mean, we're probably, truthfully, staff wise, we're at least 1.5x. Revenue is similar. Expenses keep going up, obviously. But yeah, no, I mean, and I'd say the biggest thing for me since Pilma is stability, right? So we were doing well. TV was starting to wane off. Some competitors came in the area, took some cases, and probably, but I think we were still getting some of the best cases. And yeah, just trying to figure out. Pilma helped me really figure out how to make a stable plan on marketing, a stable plan on staffing, stable plan on everything. So now I go at home night knowing that I don't have to worry about where the next check's coming from. I don't have to worry about stream of revenue, and that's the hardest part I think as a plaintiff's attorney is cash flow. And
It is having a predictable study of cases and cash flow. You hit the nail on the head. That's what keeps PI lawyers up at night. Might sign up, a load of cases one month and then kind of half that amount the next month. Might have a great month, make six figures, and the next month I lost. It's a tough way to make a living. And you really need some stability to keep your sanity.
Yeah, I mean the stability is by far, yeah. I mean I can't say that I've lost sleep over money or cases coming in or any of that in the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, just because, I know that with our referral networks, with our people, if we lose one thing, we'll pick up something else. We've got a long-term brand. And I think that's the other part of this grassroots component I'm talking about is that I think we lose sight in Pilma or any of this, as personal injury lawyers. We want to put money out. We talked about pay-per-click or LSA, right? Like what's going to happen with AI. Well, that's short term. That's like, junk food, right? Yeah, you're going to get a quick response. You're going to feel good. You pick up a few cases. But I guess the point I'm trying to make with this grassroots is that's building the brand. That's building the reputation. And that's going to continue to feed long term. Yeah, it's going to take a lot more pain up front. It's going to take a lot more investment, and you can't fake it. But over the long term, it's going to give you a lot better results. And you're not going to get that instant gratification of, I put a pay-per-click or LS. I guess it's really LSA mainly, but I spent $2,000, I got a case, and whatever the quality of the case is, I got that case. I can target it to that, or maybe you're trying to do it on TV. I don't. It's very hard to do on TV billboards, but I put up this billboard and it gave me X cases that month. I think those are short-sighted strategies, really do.
I think something what you having you here today reminds me that and this is why you're smart. Nobody, no lawyer, no business should ever depend on one person. You need to spread it out. It's like having a stock. It's like having an investment. You can't just have everything in stock. You got to spread it out. Things change. Algorithms change, or whatever. And the other thing that I think you've proven is that you're willing to do that, but you're willing to adapt, change the times, seeing that TV still works for free, but it's a lot more fragmented, and you got firms coming in, and that's what a lot of law firms are here. And I talk to lawyers every day, Phil, and they're moaning and groaning. All these big time lawyers like Morgan and these regional firms are coming in, and they're just pouring money on TV and radio and billboards. but you've got to adapt, right? Because you're never going to outspend them, right? So you got to adapt. And I think what your adaptation was, you probably had that aha moment in that mastermind, and you dug deep and you saw the fruit, and you're still, like you said, you're even trying radio. That tells me that you're always continually trying new stuff, see what's working, if things have changed. I don't know this. You might have tried radio 5, 6 years ago. It didn't work. I've done that before. I've tried something that didn't work. Then I'll wait 4 or 5 years and go back and try it again. I think things might have changed. We don't know.
Sure.
But I think that's why you got a very successful law firm, and your ability to be smart enough to know you can't count on this one thing, and you can't put money up. You've got to be diverse, and you change with the times. And we don't like change. I don't like change. Nobody likes change. But the deal is, it's inevitable, and if you don't, you're going to perish. AI stuff. We've got, I finished the program with, I said, all lawyers are not going to use AI, but the good lawyers, the ones that's not using it, will be left behind. It means you got to do everything in one day, but you got to be aware of it. You got to have some kind of, and you're good at that. So you think you'll do good with it.
Yeah, we're trying it. I mean, I think I've talked to you about this. I find places where it works. I'm sure other attorneys are saying this, and those are places where, yeah, that's not going to work. But yeah, I mean, so what you're speaking of, yeah, we've tried a lot of different marketing efforts and trying to grow. Obviously life was a heck of a lot easier when you put your commercial on Friends and just walk away.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't have any competitors. I think that's true for most markets, or limited competitors. And yeah, that's definitely changed. But I think to speak to large firms, regional firms coming in, there's so much you can do, but at the end of the day, those big cases, those monsters out there, I believe in my heart, knowing those cases, having gotten some of those cases, that people are not dumb. They're not just going to hire someone because of a branding campaign. They want some more teeth to that. And if it's reviews, that might be one way. If it's word of mouth from a friend, if it's something else. But I think, getting your name in front of the public, having a long solidified name helps, but you've got to deliver then too, and to get those big significant cases. And I'll be interested to see. I'll be interested to see how AI affects marketing and people's hiring of lawyers. But I ultimately think there's going to always be a conversation with your dad or your sister or someone. Hey, who do you use? Who do you trust? That's grassroots.
Yeah. So anything else you'd like to share with our listeners or viewers?
I mean, the biggest thing that I would say that's really helped us is bringing someone in. I got very lucky. I had a receptionist who was pretty astute in digital. She's young, in her 20s. And this is talking about AI, but listening to someone who's younger. I'm 45 now. Time flew by. I started in the firm in my 20s. It's part of my story, right? And my vision, I don't think I've aged. I don't think the world's a lot different, but I got a 21-year-old son who's applying to law school, and listening to their vision of the world so different than mine. And so I got very lucky, fell into receptionist. We promoted into a paralegal, and she's got this background. And so getting someone in-house to not only be able to help you with your marketing and reaching clients, but someone with some young vision who can understand different generations than your own. I think that is if you can make that happen, that's the number one thing. Because if you're going to continue to try to do what you've been doing for the last 40, 50 years, 30 years, 10 years, whatever it is, and not listen to other voices, I think you're going to fail. The world's moving too fast. And that's not just marketing. That's the whole gamut, right? That's just how do you talk to clients.
Good deal. So if somebody wants to refer you a case, or just wants to pick your brain, what's the best way for them to get up with you?
Yeah, you can reach out to me on my work number, 815-965-2000, or my email, Phil. That'd be the best way, Phil at rockfordinjurylawyer.com, and I'll shoot you back my cell phone and we'll jump on. But it's Phil, Phil, at rockfordinjurylawyer, all lowercase.com.
Well, Phil, I appreciate you sharing this because, you don't have to. Also, I want to let you know personally, I'm proud of what you've done. And I'm proud of the fact that you just didn't rest on your laurels on TV, and you're growing a good sign for you for the next 20 years. Don't change yourself. Don't change what you do.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Ken. It's a long ways. I mean, I showed up in St. Louis in 2018, and we were with an ad agency we'd been with since the beginning, right? Doing only TV for the most part. And honestly, we had gotten the number one spot on maps by accident, because it had evolved and really hadn't put any effort into it. It just happened, right? And spending an absorbent amount of money trying to build websites and SEO work and all that. And from where we are now, which we also have a 1090 employee who does all our marketing, our web development as well, and that's just a long way from where we've come. And I think all that's contributed to our growth and success. So feel very lucky to be part of PILMA in that process.
All right. Until next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.